My son forced me to serve breakfast to his mistress. They told me, "You are our maid." I endured every insult in silence until his wedding day. Then, in front of everyone, my gift destroyed them. "Mom, the coffee is cold. Honestly, how hard is it to use the espresso machine? I showed you twice." My son, Richard, didn't even look up from his phone as he said it. He was lying back against the silk pillows of the master suite. My master suite, in my house. Shirtless, with the sheet pulled up to his waist. Next to him, wrapped in my Egyptian cotton robe, was Bella. She was 24, an influencer with more lip filler than brain cells, and she was currently picking at the eggs Benedict I had just carried up 2 flights of stairs. "Sorry, babe," Bella giggled, running a manicured hand through Richard's hair. "Maybe she's just getting a little, slow? Old people forget things." She looked at me then. A look of pure, unadulterated condescension. "No offense, Evelyn. The eggs are delish though. A little runny, but we'll manage." I stood at the foot of the bed, my hands clasped in front of my apron. I am 65 years old. I am the CEO of a logistics empire that covers 3 continents. I have negotiated with union leaders, hostile board members, and corrupt politicians. And yet, here I was, standing in my own home, being treated like a dim-witted maid by the son I birthed and the mistress he had moved in 3 days ago. My name is Evelyn Sterling, and if you want to know how a tray of cold coffee turned into the coldest revenge in history, subscribe to the channel and tell me, what's the worst thing an ungrateful child has ever done to you? I didn't throw the tray. I didn't scream. I forced a smile onto my face, a smile so tight it felt like it might crack my foundation. "I apologize, Richard," I said, my voice steady. "I'll remember to heat the cup next time. Do you need anything else? More orange juice? A napkin for your guest?" Richard waved a dismissive hand. "No, we're good. Just close the door on your way out. And Mom? Don't vacuum the hallway until noon. We had a late night. We need our rest." "Of course," I said. "Rest is important." I walked out. I closed the heavy oak door softly. And the moment the latch clicked, the smile dropped from my face like a mask falling to the floor. I walked down the long hallway, past the family portraits. There was Richard at 5, smiling with missing teeth. Richard at graduation looking proud. And Richard at his wedding to Sarah, his lovely, intelligent, loyal wife of 10 years. The wife he was currently divorcing via text message because she didn't fit his new vibe. The wife he had kicked out of their apartment so he could move back into my estate, temporarily, to save money for his new life with Bella. Temporarily had turned into 3 months. And saving money had turned into him driving my Bentley, drinking my vintage wine, and now, moving his mistress into the guest wing, which they had abandoned last night because the bed in the master suite was softer. I went downstairs to the kitchen. The house was silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator. I sat on a stool and looked at the tray I had used to serve them. Why did I do it? Why did I carry that tray? Because I needed them comfortable. I needed them arrogant. I needed them to believe that I was just old Evelyn, the doormat mother who would do anything for her golden boy. Because if they suspected for even 1 second that the ATM was about to shut down, they would panic. And I didn't want panic. I wanted total destruction. My phone rang. It was Mr. Henderson, my family attorney for 30 years. "Evelyn." His gravelly voice came through. "I have the drafts ready. Are you absolutely sure about this? It's drastic. Richard is your only child." "I'm sure, Arthur," I said, staring at the ceiling where I could hear the faint sound of their laughter coming from my bedroom. "Did you include the clause about the wedding venue?" "I did. And the gift box?" "The one you wanted prepared." "Yes. Is it ready?" "It is." "But Evelyn, the timing. Doing this at the wedding? It's going to be a public execution." "That's the point, Arthur," I replied, standing up and walking over to the sink to wash my hands, scrubbing them as if I could wash away the morning's humiliation. "Richard loves an audience. I'm just giving him the show of a lifetime." The next 2 weeks were a test of endurance that would have broken a Navy SEAL. Richard and Bella treated my home like a frat house. They left wet towels on the mahogany furniture. They ordered expensive takeout on my credit card, which Richard had borrowed from my purse, and left the cartons rotting in the living room. But the worst was the attitude. "Mom," Richard said one evening over dinner. He was swirling a glass of my 1995 Bordeaux like it was grape juice. "We need to talk about the wedding gift." They were getting married in 3 days. A shotgun wedding. Bella wanted to lock him down before the divorce papers with Sarah were even cold. "Oh," I asked, cutting my steak precisely. "I thought I was paying for the venue. The plaza." "That's a significant gift, Richard." Bella rolled her eyes. "The venue is for the guests, Evelyn. We're talking about the gift for us. To start our life." Richard nodded. "See, Mom, Bella and I have been looking at properties. We found this amazing penthouse in Tribeca. It's perfect. But the down payment is hefty. And since you're sitting on all this cash, and you barely use this huge house." He trailed off, expecting me to fill in the blank. Expecting me to say, "Oh, my darling, take whatever you need." "You want me to buy you a penthouse?" I asked. "Not buy," Richard said quickly. "Just an early inheritance. You know? Why wait until you're gone? You can enjoy seeing us happy now." "And," Bella added, leaning forward, her eyes gleaming with greed, "Richard said you promised him the deed to the lake house. As a wedding present. He said it's tradition." The lake house. My sanctuary. The place where my late husband and I spent our happiest years. I looked at Richard. He didn't even have the grace to look ashamed. He looked entitled. He looked at me not as a mother, but as a resource to be mined. "I did say I would give you something significant," I said slowly. "So, is that a yes?" Richard grinned. "Can we tell the realtor?" I took a sip of wine. "I have already prepared your gift, Richard. It is wrapped and waiting. I think you will find it life-changing. It represents exactly what I believe you deserve." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "Yes, I knew it. Thanks, Mom. You're the best." He turned to Bella. "I told you she'd cave. She can't say no to me. I love you, Evelyn." Bella squealed. "We're going to invite you to the housewarming. Promise." "I look forward to it," I said. The morning of the wedding arrived. It was a lavish affair. Richard had invited 500 people. Most of them were his business associates, people he tried to impress with my money, or Bella's followers. I sat in the front row at the ceremony. I wore a champagne-colored gown, elegant and understated. I watched as my son stood at the altar, looking handsome in a tuxedo I paid for. I watched Bella walk down the aisle in a dress that cost more than my first car. They exchanged vows. "I promise to love you for richer or poorer," Bella said. She emphasized the richer. "I promise to cherish you," Richard said. I didn't cry. Mothers usually cry at weddings. I sat dry-eyed, clutching my clutch bag, feeling the cold weight of the safety deposit key inside. The reception was loud. The music was thumping. Champagne flowed like water. Richard and Bella sat at the head table, looking like royalty. They were drunk on attention and the promise of millions. Then, the moment arrived. The speeches. The best man gave a drunken toast. The maid of honor cried. Then the DJ announced, "And now, a special moment. The mother of the groom, Evelyn Sterling, has a special presentation for the happy couple." The spotlight hit me. I stood up. I picked up the large velvet-wrapped box that had been sitting on my table. It was heavy. I walked to the center of the dance floor. The room went quiet. Richard was grinning, actually rubbing his hands together under the table. Bella was practically vibrating. "Richard." "Bella," I said into the microphone. My voice was clear, projected to every corner of the ballroom. "For weeks, you have asked me about my contribution to your new life. You have asked for deeds. You have asked for penthouses. You have reminded me that tradition dictates a mother provides for her son." I smiled warmly. "I agree. A mother's job is to prepare her child for the real world, to ensure they get exactly what they have earned." "Open it," Richard yelled, raising his glass. "Come on, Mom, don't keep us in suspense." I walked over to the head table. I placed the box in front of them. "This," I whispered, loud enough for the microphone to catch, "is the key to your future." Richard tore off the velvet ribbon. He ripped the lid off the box. He expected a deed. He expected a check with 6 zeros. He expected the keys to the kingdom. He reached inside. His hand stopped. The smile froze on his face. He pulled out the first item. It wasn't a deed. It was an apron. A cheap, stained, polyester apron. "What is this?" Richard asked, his voice shaking with confusion. "Mom? Is this a joke?" "Keep looking," I said coldly. Bella leaned over. She reached into the box and pulled out a stack of papers. She looked at the top page, and her face went pale white, clashing with her spray tan. What? What does eviction notice mean? Bella squeaked. The room gasped. A murmur rippled through the crowd. It means, I said, leaning into the microphone so the entire room could hear the tremor in Richard's soul, that you have 24 hours to vacate my property. The guest wing. The master suite. All of it. But the wedding gift? Richard stammered, standing up, his face flushing red. You said, the lake house. The penthouse. Oh, there is one more thing in the box, I said. Dig deeper, Richard. He reached to the bottom. His trembling hand pulled out a single, thick legal document bound in blue leather. That, I said, pointing to the document, is a copy of the deed to the lake house. See, Richard shouted, turning to the crowd, trying to salvage his dignity. She gave it to us. It's the deed. Read the name of the owner, Richard, I commanded. My voice cracked like a whip. He looked at the paper. He squinted. The Sarah Sterling Foundation for Abandoned Animals. He read aloud. Silence. Absolute. Deafening silence. Sarah? He whispered. My ex-wife. Your loyal wife, I corrected. I transferred the lake house to a charitable trust in her name yesterday. It is now a sanctuary for stray dogs. Because I realized I prefer the company of animals who know the meaning of loyalty. You can't do this, Richard screamed. He looked like a child whose toy had been snatched away. I'm your son. You owe me. I owe you nothing. I roared back, my composure finally breaking, letting the fire out. I served you breakfast in bed 3 days ago. You told me the coffee was cold. You let this woman mock me in the house I built. You treated me like a servant. I took a step closer. So now you can live like one. I have frozen the joint accounts. I have cancelled the credit cards. I have repossessed the Bentley. Manuel is driving it away as we speak. You have no job, because you never bothered to get one. You have no home because you disrespected mine. And you have no inheritance. I looked at Bella, who was crying, her mascara running down her face. And you, my dear, I said softly. I hope you truly meant for poorer. Because he is now the poorest man in this room. I dropped the microphone. I didn't walk out this time. I stood there. I watched. I watched as the reality crashed down on them. I watched as the guests, my friends, the business partners, started to whisper and laugh. I watched the realization hit Bella that she had married a pauper. Richard looked at me, tears of rage in his eyes. Mom, please. Where are we going to go tonight? We have nowhere. I smiled. It was the same smile I gave him when I served the eggs. I hear the Motel 6 by the highway has vacancy, I said. But hurry. Checkout is at 11, and they don't serve breakfast in bed. The silence in the Plaza Hotel ballroom was heavy, a physical weight that pressed down on the 500 guests. For a moment, nobody moved. The confetti that had been fired during their grand entrance littered the floor like trash after a parade that had been cancelled halfway through. Richard stood frozen at the head table, his hands still clutching the eviction notice. His face was a kaleidoscope of emotions. Shock, disbelief, and then, a slow-burning, ugly rage. Bella was sobbing, not the delicate cry of a heartbroken bride, but the loud, heaving wails of a woman watching her lottery ticket burn to ash. This is a joke. Richard finally screamed, his voice cracking. He looked out at the crowd, desperate for an ally. She's joking. My mother has a sick sense of humor. Tell them, Mom. Tell them it's a prank. I stood by the DJ booth, my hands calmly folded. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The only joke here, Richard, I said, my voice amplified clearly, is the idea that you thought you could disrespect me and still spend my money. The bar tab is closed. Security is waiting to escort you off the premises. I turned to the head of hotel security, a man I had tipped generously beforehand. Mr. Evans, if you please. 2 burly men in dark suits stepped onto the dance floor. They didn't grab Richard roughly. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to shatter his remaining bravado. You can't kick us out. Bella shrieked, mascara streaking down her face like black tears. It's my wedding night. We have the presidential suite. Actually, ma'am, Mr. Evans said, his voice void of sympathy. The suite was booked under Mrs. Sterling's corporate card. That card has been reported lost and cancelled as of 20 minutes ago. We need you to vacate the property immediately. The walk of shame that followed was biblical. Richard and Bella, still in their wedding finery, were marched past the tables of their friends, their business partners, and the influencers Bella tried so hard to impress. People didn't look away. They stared. They whispered. I saw phones raised, capturing the fall of the golden boy. The live stream Bella had running for her followers was broadcasting her humiliation to the world in real time. I didn't stay to watch them hit the street. I signaled to Arthur, my lawyer. Let's go, Arthur. I have a shelter to visit. The first week. The Motel 6 reality. I learned the details of their first night later, through the grapevine of mutual acquaintances who were all too eager to gossip. They didn't go to a Motel 6. Richard, clinging to his delusion of status, tried to check into the Four Seasons using his own credit card. Declined. He tried another card. Declined. He tried Bella's card. Limit exceeded. They ended up at a budget inn near the airport, the kind of place where the neon sign buzzes all night and the carpet smells of stale smoke and despair. For the first week, Richard bombarded my phone. 152 missed calls. Text. Mom, stop this. It's not funny. We have no cash. Text. Bella is freaking out. She needs her skin creams from the house. Let us in. Text. I'm your son. How can you be so cruel? I'll sue you. I didn't reply. I sat in my quiet, clean, peaceful home, now free of wet towels and ungrateful laughter, and I worked. I had a company to run. On the fourth day, they tried to storm the house. I was in my study reviewing quarterly reports when I heard the commotion at the front gate. I checked the security monitors. Richard was there, banging on the iron bars, looking disheveled. He was wearing the same suit pants from the wedding, now wrinkled and stained. Bella was sitting on the curb, scrolling frantically on her phone. Open the gate. Richard screamed at the intercom. I live here. You can't lock me out of my own home. I pressed the talk button. You don't live here, Richard. You are a guest who overstayed his welcome. And your belongings? They are in a storage unit in Queens. I prepaid for 1 month. Here's the code. 1-2-3-4. Easy for you to remember. Mom, please. His voice broke, shifting from anger to begging. I'm hungry. We haven't eaten a real meal in 2 days. Just let us in for dinner. We can talk. I'll apologize. I'll do anything. Anything? I asked. Yes, anything. Will you unsay the words you said to Bella about me being senile? I asked calmly. Will you unserve the cold coffee you threw a fit over? Will you give Sarah back the 10 years of her life you wasted? I can't change the past, Mom. Exactly, I said. And I can't change the locks fast enough. Goodbye, Richard. I called the police to report trespassers. By the time the patrol car arrived, they were gone. The legal Hail Mary. 3 weeks later, the lawsuit arrived. It was pathetic, really. They had found a lawyer who advertised on the back of bus benches. A man named Saul who wore ill-fitting suits and smelled of desperation. The suit claimed promissory estoppel, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and, my personal favorite, elder abuse, claiming I was mentally incompetent and Richard should be my conservator. The court date was set for a month later. I walked into the courtroom wearing a Chanel suit that cost more than their lawyer's car. Arthur was by my side, looking bored. Richard and Bella were on the other side. They looked gray. The shine was gone. Bella's roots were showing. The blonde was fading into a dull brown. Richard looked thinner, his eyes darting around nervously. Their lawyer tried to grandstand. Your Honor, Mrs. Sterling promised these poor young people a house. She lured them into a sense of security and then rugged pulled them at the altar. It was a premeditated attack designed to humiliate. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s who looked like she took nonsense from no one, looked over her glasses at me. Mrs. Sterling? I stood up. Your Honor, my son claims I promised him a gift. I gave him a gift. I gave him the gift of independence. He is 35 years old. He has a master's degree I paid for. He has never held a job for longer than 6 months because he felt the work was beneath him. I simply stopped enabling him. And the humiliation? The judge asked, though I saw a glint of amusement in her eyes. I served them breakfast in bed, I said, my voice echoing in the quiet room. 3 days before the wedding. I carried a tray up 2 flights of stairs. My son told me the coffee was cold and dismissed me like a servant. I realized then that he didn't see a mother. He saw a maid with a checkbook. I decided to resign from both positions. The judge looked at Richard. Is this true, Mr. Sterling? Did you make your 65-year-old mother serve you breakfast? Richard turned red. It's not. She offered. She likes doing it. Case dismissed. The judge banged her gavel. Mr. Sterling, get a job. Mrs. Sterling, you are free to go. And might I suggest a vacation? You look like you've been working too hard. The dissolution of Bella. The money ran out 2 days after the court case. I knew because the charges on the supplementary credit card, which I had cancelled, but kept monitoring for attempted transactions, stopped coming in. They had maxed out their own cards. They had sold the wedding rings. I saw the transaction record at a local pawn shop. Richard wasn't smart enough to go out of town. Bella left him on a Tuesday. It wasn't a dramatic exit. She simply waited until Richard went to a job interview for a sales position at a car dealership, packed her fake Louis Vuitton bags, and called an Uber. She blocked his number, blocked him on Instagram, and moved in with a producer she met on TikTok. Richard was alone. He called me that night. He was drunk. She left me, Mom. She's gone. You happy now? You chased her away. I didn't chase her, Richard, I said, sipping my tea. I just stopped paying her to stay. There is a difference. I have nothing, he sobbed. I'm sleeping in the car. The storage unit is locked because I couldn't pay the renewal fee. Mom, please. I'm your son. You have a degree, I said. Use it. I hung up. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. My heart wanted to run to him, to fix it, to write the check. But I remembered Sarah. I remembered the cold coffee. I remembered the smirk. And I stayed seated. The sanctuary. A few months later, I drove out to the lake house. It wasn't a vacation home anymore. The lawn was fenced in. There were dogs everywhere. Running, barking, playing. Sarah came out to meet me. She looked radiant. She was wearing jeans and a muddy t-shirt, her hair in a ponytail, covered in dog hair. She looked happier than she had in 10 years of marriage to my son. Evelyn! She hugged me tight. Come see the new kennels. The donation you made. It saved 50 dogs from the kill shelter last week. 50 lives. We walked through the property. I saw the plaque on the wall. The Sterling Sanctuary. Richard called me, Sarah said quietly as we watched a 3-legged golden retriever chase a ball. Oh, he wanted money. He wanted to know if he could stay in the guest cottage here. He said since it used to be his inheritance, he had a right to it. What did you tell him? Sarah smiled. I told him we only have cages available. And they're reserved for creatures that know how to be grateful. We laughed. It was a good, clean laugh. The final service. 6 months passed. My life was peaceful. The business was thriving. I had promoted a young, brilliant woman to VP of Operations. The position Richard had always assumed would be handed to him. One rainy morning, I had a meeting downtown. My driver pulled up to a trendy coffee shop near the financial district. I needed a caffeine fix before the board meeting. I walked in. The place was busy. The smell of roasted beans was strong. I stood in line. When it was my turn, I looked at the barista. He was wearing a green apron. His name tag was crooked. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a few gray hairs sprouting at his temples. It was Richard. He froze when he saw me. The portafilter in his hand trembled, spilling a few grounds onto the counter. Mom, he whispered. The customer behind me cleared his throat impatiently. Hey, buddy, are you gonna take her order or what? Richard swallowed hard. He straightened up. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. He didn't see a checkbook. He saw the woman who raised him. He saw the CEO. He saw the customer. Welcome to Bean and Amp, Leaf, he recited the corporate script, his voice hollow. What can I get for you today? I looked at the menu board. Then I looked at him. I'll have a double espresso, I said clearly. And Richard. Yes. Make sure it's hot. He flinched. His face flushed a deep, shameful crimson. He looked down at the register, his fingers tapping the keys. That will be $4.50, he mumbled. I handed him a $20 bill. He made the coffee. I watched him. His hands were shaking, but he tamped the grounds. He pulled the shot. He steamed the milk, though I didn't ask for milk. He added a tiny bit of foam on the side, just how I used to like it. He placed the cup on the counter. Here, he said softly. It's hot. I checked. I took the cup. I took a sip. It was perfect. I looked at him one last time. Keep the change, I said. I turned and walked out into the rain. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew he was watching me get into my car. I knew he was holding that $20 bill like it was a fortune. He was finally learning the value of $1. And more importantly, he was finally learning the value of the woman who gave it to him. My son served me coffee. And for the first time in his life, he earned his tip.